Home-based learning right now is a challenge for everyone. The teachers are exhausted, the parents are grappling with unfamiliar technologies to facilitate their kids' learning, and students happen to be the ones caught in the middle of the entire chaos. I'm Tina from School Campus, and this is our podcast today.
Thanks, Tina. Okay, so today we have two very special guests, one all the way in Japan and another one in France. We have David. David, tell us a bit about yourself, David.
Hi, David Fingerout. I'm an international educator and consultant. Been doing training and teaching and education management and ed tech consulting for the last 10, 15 years. Lived in different parts of Asia and originally from California. Currently working in Japan in management and instructional design, and look forward to having this conversation with all of you today. I know Gabe from some participation in Score Campus in Singapore, and also we originally met at an ed tech, I think it was a startup weekend a number of years ago.
Nice. Thanks, David. And we have beautiful Pilar. Pilar, tell us about yourself.
Hi. So I'm Pilar Cuesta. I'm from Chile, and I am passionate and driven by the power of education. I started my career serving in an underprivileged school in Chile as part of the Teach for All network. And then I have worked in different projects and roles in the private sector, in government, and in NGOs. Currently I am part of the Chilean mission for the OECD. I'm doing a short internship there while I live here in France. Mm-hmm. And I'm working in education technology and other topics for vocational education and training. I studied business administration in my undergrad, and then I did a master's in public administration in the School of Government from Harvard.
Nice. Okay. I'm Ira. I'm in education now. I was a coach. I was a netball coach, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing now. So there's a lot of things Score Campus is up to, so we'll get to that. Okay? So our first question coming up. How has home-based learning changed from what you have observed? How has home-based learning changed before the COVID-19 situation and right now?
So before COVID-19, I think home-based learning was growing quite slowly. And there was some resistance to adopt it, not only from parents and teachers, but also from the governments, because there is not existent evidence about the outcomes or impact of online learning. So there are mixed results, and that I think creates some resistance to make a structural change. And nevertheless, the new context has forced a really fast transformation. So we have seen a massive expansion of the use of technology for teaching and a rapid learning process from teachers, parents, and students. So at the beginning, we saw like most schools started just using video conferences. Yeah. And with time, they have included a wide variety of initiatives, like suggesting activities specific for each student, or regular check-ins, or improving channels for students to make questions. Yeah. And also in developing countries, we have seen like big efforts to reach those who don't have access to the internet or laptops, providing better infrastructure or moving online learning to the TV or to the radio. So I think there's a big chance that once the COVID-19 ends, we will see an enormous transformation in this field with more infrastructure and more effective strategies to improve the quality of teaching and learning.
Okay, so yeah, I think we will get to the post-COVID-19 in a bit. But what about you, David? What have you seen in Japan, especially?
Japan is an interesting case because there is a perception that things are quite technologically advanced, just in general.
Yeah.
I think if you compare Japan to the rest of the world, in fact,
Yeah.
not just Southeast Asia or underdeveloped places. And one thing that over the last 4 years I've recognized that's not the case, but this situation has really brought it to the forefront of the international kind of awareness. For example, I have colleagues and friends who have children in international schools, and then they have some children in public schools. And the difference in the style of education, since everybody is now home-based, is quite drastic, to the tune of some students sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours a day in Zoom meetings, to some students being sent recordings that they have to then listen to for a number of hours, to some of them being mailed paper homework from the teacher. And echoing I think a lot of what Pilar said, the sentiment is certainly there. I'm not so confident that there's going to be a massive move toward more remote or asynchronous education. I think a lot of people are very frustrated by the situation. I think that it's really highlighted the lack of appropriate tech training for teachers kind of around the world, kind of regardless of what country you're in. Folks are scrambling at best most places. What to use, how to use it, where to get it, how to share it, you name it. And this is not really the best way for folks to find out about those kind of things, or to have to deal with those struggles. And a lot of the conversation, I think it is, well, when we get back to normal, et cetera, and it's not so clear that the normal is going to be what the normal used to be. And it's not also, it doesn't seem very clear when that's going to happen. And I think that one of the elements that might be getting overshadowed, I don't know, or overlooked, I don't know if it is or not, but it'll be interesting to hear what others have to say about this. One thing that was pretty consistent internationally, not entirely, of course, but for the most part, or for a good part anyway, you had a lot of people going to schools. Now those schools looked different and they functioned differently, and they were equipped differently. But a lot of places in the world have children going into a classroom, being taught by an educator, however qualified that educator might be, and taking tests and kind of going through the daily motions. And that has really been, I think, severely disrupted, to the tune of parents now needing to be working while teaching, making sure that their students are paying attention, and as Pilar mentioned, people not having access to the technology that they need to make these things go forward, and so on. So that's, there was a lot of tuition center studying in places like Singapore and Korea and Japan, where the parents had virtually no interaction with the education, even outside of school. And so that has taken an abrupt turn recently.
Okay, so since the word normal came up pretty often, I would like to know how effective home-based learning is in a normal world.
So I think at the moment it is difficult to take a stand of the effectiveness of home-based learning, because with all this going on, we don't have information on the real outcomes of the process that we are living. But personally, I would argue that a fully home-based learning system is not the best way of delivering education, and I don't think it's actually realistic. And there are many issues, but I would like to mention two that I consider more important. So first of all, what David mentioned, the difficulty for parents to conciliate their jobs and homeschooling. So they don't have the tools and the time to do it effectively, plus the anxiety or the stress of trying to do both things well. And the second thing is that I believe that the face-to-face interaction and the school experience are irreplaceable. So relationships are key for learning between teachers and students, and also within students. So you lose in the online learning, you lose a lot of the spontaneity or the randomness of a daily day in a school, and you can see the of students with the online learning. An example of it are many university students that are trying to get refunds because they are not satisfied by the system. And even I asked my nephew and my niece if they were happy at home with their parents, and they replied automatically that they weren't, that they miss their friends and their teachers. So there's much more going on in a school than in home-based learning. But I think this doesn't mean that we can't learn from this process. And I do think that home-based learning will gain some more traction after all this. For instance, we proved that online learning can be scaled actually really fast. Although it is difficult to reach those that don't have access to internet or laptops. We have also seen that teachers and parents can learn or adopt digital skills, and we have seen new strategies using online learning going out. But of course, there are still challenges on how to do online learning more interactive and engaging. We also learned that providing some autonomy to teachers in the sequence pace of the teaching, it's important for the satisfaction of the different players. So I don't know, these are some examples of things or lessons that we are learning in all this process, and I think this will improve the quality on online learning in the future, and maybe will give us some capabilities to improve all the technological tools that we are using also at schools.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer, Paula. And David, you have 15 plus years of experience as an educator. So what do you feel about this?
A few really kind of poignant components of this conversation that really need to be thought of before it's not only about efficacy anymore. We're really talking about this kind of separation between our lives, if you like. You have your work life if you're an adult for the most part, and you have your school life for the most part if you're a student. And again, those things really don't collide. If you have parent-teacher conferences, that may be the only time your parents ever interact physically with your school or with your education, if they even participate in that. And this is not a commentary on whether or not they should. It's just a matter of fact that school is, that's the kid's world, or that's a student's world. So in terms of efficacy of student learning online and at home, you've got just a ton of considerations there. What kind of distractions does the student have? What kind of mindset are they in? What kind of, just standardly, what kind of mental transitions do most of us go through sort of when we're walking to school or riding the bus or thinking about, getting from home brain mode into school brain mode.
There's a clear, distinct separation there.
Huge. And a lot of people have less than ideal home existences, and school for a lot of people is a giant refuge as well, where they get to block that out, right? So all of these kind of considerations are going to directly impact what we have to say about learning. And then there's a whole other element of whether or not online learning or remote-based learning, home-based learning, whatever you want to call it, is just trying to replicate the school experience at home or elsewhere, even if not at home, outside of school, and whether or not that's the most effective way for these tools to be used, right? If we're just replicating the system or the structure, but digitally, is that really going to lead to an effective alternative kind of system for learning, or is it just going to be less than sort of indefinitely and forcing people to, like we're doing right now, basically have a face-to-face conversation but remotely?
So this is just a temporary solution for now. Is that what you are trying to say?
And whether or not it's even sort of a preferable temporary solution, right?
Okay.
One thing we might take away from this, I don't know, but one thing we might take away from it is we shouldn't do it synchronously. These kind of things should be done asynchronously, because what's the difference between me recording an answer to your question and you guys editing the videos together versus the two of us trying to make sure that we're awake at the same time in different parts of the world and got the lighting and blah, 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 right? So all of those elements are really, I think, this is the first time that we had an opportunity at this scale to consider. And then you have just one last thing, you have a lot of preferences being taken into consideration. What do students like? What do teachers like? What do parents like? Where right now the situation is really like, what could we possibly get moving as soon as possible? Which is not, that comes into conflict with a lot of preferences.
Yeah. So this comes in just like you have to do it.
That's right. Sink or swim.
Right. Yeah. And I think some of us are just floating by, Some people are not even
desperately.
Swimming.
Just trying to, just holding on. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to home-based learning, and the next question actually kind of want to bring up like some of the problems, some of the obstacles that parents might have faced, and I think we have covered some of that. Not as conducive a space, parents are they have to work and then they have to teach at the same time. So what kind of technological barriers have you seen when it comes to home-based learning? No, so just a question, do the two of you actually conduct home-based learning? Like right now? I mean, not now, but
I do.
You do.
I don't.
Pilar, do you do that? Pilar, you don't do that.
David does.
No.
David, throughout this entire time when you conduct your home-based learning, do you have any difficulties other than I don't know, maybe Zoom is not working, or?
Fortunately, we haven't. In one of the programs that I participate, I had that situation, and it was as frantic as you could imagine it would be. And that was just, we sort of laugh about it, and it's a volunteer situation anyway. So, but it's still just as nerve-wracking and problematic as it would be in other circumstances. And then in my full-time capacity, it's just gone very smoothly. One of the major hurdles initially was just getting buy-in, and not even from. Well, again, this is what I was referencing when I'm talking about preferences. People say, "Oh, do you want to study online or do you want to study face-to-face?" And it's like, well, hey, whatever you like or dislike, there's a serious situation going on in the world right now, and I rather your personal preferences don't dictate the overall health of myself and my colleagues. And so you can get into a very sticky situation like that. But yeah, the tech-based things, of course, you have people trying to study on all kinds of different platforms and all different kinds of using all kinds of hardware. So you find out some complications with that.
Do you find yourself a little bit more patient when it comes to technology now? I don't know. Like for me personally, I've previously when something goes slow on my laptop, I'll be like, this sucks, But then now it's like I understand a little bit more. I'm like, okay, you know what? It happens. Technology is crappy sometimes. Do you find yourself in that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting commentary that you bring up, because what choice do we have? Like if your internet is laggy right now, or if your microphone is not working well, we just don't really have much choice but to say, oh well, that's the way it is. I guess I'm just listening for this one, or I guess, I have to turn my video off. Whereas, normally I would definitely start banging on things and pushing buttons to see how to fix it. Yeah.
So, Pilar, what have you encountered anything like that?
So now I'm not teaching, so but I can talk maybe from the experience of my sister, my brother, or my friends that they have kids that are doing homeschooling. Yeah. And I think there's a very important issue when you have like kids of different ages, on how to manage that, like trying to support all of them in a good way, and also when there's like reduced space. So you eat and study and you play in the same space, and it gets really tough. But I would like to bring to like maybe highlight the role of teachers on they are really, I believe they are trying to alleviate the parents' workload, and so some examples I've seen, some of them are doing like breaks within students so that like parents can take a break too, or they are creating a new material that is easier for parents to follow, or activities that actually promote more independent learning, which is what is very important in online learning, like to try to create some autonomy in kids.
I think teachers are doing a fantastic job at this stage. I mean, aside from the fact that educators and teachers kind of just have to do it, I think everybody is doing a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, with the tools that they have and the time, like all my friends that are teachers, they are working way more than normally and putting a lot of effort to make this happen. So that's very valuable.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to the last question. Tina?
Yeah. So from the entire conversation, I understand that most of us were not prepared for this situation. So does this experience with home-based learning change how parents and teachers see and understand the entire learning experience of the students? What do you feel? You are handling home-based learning or online classes right now. Would you like to give us a first-hand experience on this? Do you see, how do you see it? Do you see a change in your view, or do you see a change in the parents' views?
What I can definitely say is that I was in China just before things kicked off on something totally unrelated, and they were already teaching, I don't know, hundreds of millions of learners online, on top, in addition to going to school, face to face. So, in fact, this is where I met Pilar. So yeah, we were both there at the same event a few months ago. So it was already a trend as far as I'm concerned, and getting folks on board, like Pilar mentioned earlier about whether or not people recognize it as kind of a legitimate option, which I'd never understood, and I still don't understand what the pushback against it is. Of course, especially for young learners, the face-to-face, there's a socialization element of school for young people around the world, of course, and we're missing out on that for young adults as well, and plenty of adults who have serious concerns about just being at home all the time. And then there's, of course, the space situation that was discussed, and some people are in one room, and how do you give presentations and take tests and all of this when you have multiple generations of families in the same room. But my hope, anyway, is that this is seen and taken as a gigantic opportunity for international professional development. Because
what do you
all
mean by
it is. In sort of, I have fantasies of, really strong math teachers and really strong science teachers providing these lessons that are now internationally available so that everybody can be getting this, this high level education anywhere in the world.
It has opened up a beautiful opportunity, I see.
Yeah. So when you say you're doing the, the global curriculum, it's like, yeah, more of that. Absolutely. And anybody who thinks otherwise, I just think is kind of missing an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, education is worldwide. That's the thing. I think a lot of people don't see it like that, right? Like,
right.
They just, education, a lot of them think that it's in their classroom, but it's not.
That's right. Not anymore. It never will be again.
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that should change. I hope. I mean, I hope people do see it this way. That education.
I don't think they will. I don't think we will. My personal opinion is that people are going to be rushing back into brick and mortar schools as quickly as possible, and telling people to reduce their screen time and put their phones away.
Yeah, I think we're going back to that. I mean, I hope not, but I think that's something that is inevitable, right?
It seems inevitable.
What about you,
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that this situation may accelerate like the use of technology in schools, like maybe not increasing the home-based learning traction, but how you can use tech in a school or in a learning center in many ways. And we talked about this in the past. I think that technology should be a tool to like support the teacher and the student to make the best of the time that they are together. So the teachers as an enabler and the student as a learner. So I think that now that we are learning so much about tech, we will be able to bring those lessons to the classroom and integrate maybe more technology, like easy things, like use tech to practice or to get feedback before you go to the teacher, and you start talking to the teacher so that the time with the teacher is more productive, or different things like all the administrative stuff. So I think that can be accelerated by this. And then I think another important point, more related to the learning experience itself, not to technology, is that parents now are probably like valuing more the role of teachers. So in many countries, teachers are really, like, at least in Chile, teachers are not valued like as a professional option. Is like not a good one. And I think with this, they are like really seeing that this is actually really difficult, like how they do this. And they are, I think, in the appreciation that we have of teachers, there will also be a big change, and that's good for the educational system.
Yes, that's a very good point you brought up, and I like the part where you say that the teachers are enablers, and how technology should be. I mean, it shouldn't be like a technology versus teaching. It kind of should come hand in hand, right?
That's right.
I think that's
supporting
that's the
each
best
other.
part. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. It has been a pleasure. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Anytime. Okay. Bye-bye. See you again.